In today's fight news, we start off with Dustin Poirier's head coach, Mike Brown, comparing the styles of former opponent Khabib Nurmagomedov and his future opponent this weekend at UFC 302 champion Islam Makhachev. Brown states, "They're looking to take you down and maul you for 5 rounds, but how they do it is a little bit different." Coach Javier Mendez says his fighter, lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, can do whatever he wants to do in the octagon this weekend against Dustin Poirier, saying, "Islam has it all. How he wants to win, when he wants to win, where he wants to win. It's up to him. We can take the fight anywhere we want." That's the difference between Islam and Khabib. Khabib's number one thing was wrestling, but Islam can do whatever he wants. Makhachev's recent opponent, former featherweight kingpin Alexander Volkanovski, says on his YouTube channel that Islam is going to be too good for Poirier, and he'll make sure that he doesn't get caught with any big shots, predicting a submission win for the champion. Longtime UFC veteran Michael Chiesa made an interesting point on his X account when he said, "If Dustin wins, he should defend against Gaethje to settle the trilogy." Gaethje rolled the dice defending the BMF title at UFC 300 when he had the number 1 spot locked at 155. The storyline between the two is perfect for a first title defense. Guillaume Peltier, the manager of lightweight standout Benoit Saint-Denis, tells RMC Sport that Saint-Denis had a title shot guaranteed if he could get past Dustin Poirier at the recent UFC 299 event in March. Peltier says the contract was already signed. While on an episode of the Timbo Sugar Show, former BMF champion Jorge Masvidal gave his prediction for the upcoming UFC 303 event against Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, stating, "They both look for ways to quit, so who's gonna quit first?" While speaking on the CS Duplessis show, middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis had nothing but high praises for champ Conor McGregor ahead of his upcoming UFC 303 event. It looks like MVP Michael Venom Page is on the attack against Ian Machado Gary ahead of their upcoming UFC 303 event, trolling the fighter for various comments he's made in the past about not fighting him. Ahead of his UFC 304 main event title fight against champion Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad spoke with Farah Hanoun, saying what he's going to do when he fights the champion to take the strap off of him, ultimately predicting a second-round stoppage in the fight. Muhammad also had this to say when speaking to MMA Uncensored: "The conflict in Gaza is going to fuel me to make sure I can get my hand raised because they need a victory more than anything." While speaking to Submission Radio, interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall discusses how he's going to prepare for the UFC 304 Manchester event, even though it was recently announced that they're going to be fighting on US time instead of UK time. The champion was clearly agitated when discussing how he's going to try to make up for the time difference. Aspinall was also asked his opinion on champ Alex Pereira, and this is what he had to say: "I've got a lot of respect for what he's done and his body of work in the UFC. Like, the guy's really good. I'm a fan of his. He's effing awesome." Also having high praises for the current light heavyweight champion Pereira is Chael Sonnen. While speaking on the Fighter and the Kid podcast, he had this to say: "If Alex became champ, and he is the first person ever to actually do it, we're not out having a conversation on who the GOAT is. We will just refer to Alex as the GOAT." In a recent interview, featherweight champion Ilia Topuria laid out his game plan for his next 2 fights, which include 1. Beating Max Holloway, and 2. Headlining a UFC event in Madrid, Spain. Tim Welch, the head coach of bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley, says 2 of his fighters, Mario Bautista and Kyler Phillips, both accepted fights to fight Henry Cejudo, but he says Cejudo turned down both of them. Ahead of their upcoming matchup this weekend at UFC 302, Basel Chavez and Mickey Gall will be facing off for the second time. The first time was actually in a grappling tournament 10 years ago. Basel posted a picture of this on his Instagram saying, "I'm about to make it 2-0 against Gall." Former undisputed heavyweight champion Iron Mike Tyson recently had a medical incident on a flight from Miami to LA where he became nauseous and dizzy. It turns out it was due to an ulcer flare-up. Mike is doing good now, his representatives tell the New York Post. Undisputed welterweight champion Terrence "Bud" Crawford has now been made WBC welterweight champion in recess, as he's set to fight Israel Madrimov for the WBA super welterweight title on August 3rd. This matchup was recently announced to also be a WBC final eliminator to determine the mandatory challenger between Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence. His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh responded to a fan post on X asking about a USA vs Mexico 5 vs 5 event headlined by Canelo Alvarez vs Terrence Crawford. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content, like and subscribe.